and welcome to another episode of the Studio 78 podcast. I am your host, Nache from NacheSnow.com. Welcome. I hope you guys are having a glorious day despite what's going on in the world. I have another amazing guest, Miss Sarah Matthews, that's going to be on with us today. She teaches bookbinding and printmaking, and we talk about all the things. She has 4 daughters, ages 3, 9, 11, and 17. So when I tell you guys you could do it, you can do it. Anyway, we have an amazing conversation. Just a few housekeeping calls before, or housekeeping things. I'm not making any house calls before we get started. One, if you haven't already, please go over to iTunes and rate the podcast 5 stars in the podcast app or in iTunes. It really means a lot. If you're listening somewhere else, whatever their rating mechanism is, if you could give me 2 thumbs up, that would be really appreciated. It helps people find the show. Also, if you're looking to really organize your life in order to make time for your passion, please check me out on Skillshare. Go to NacheSnow.com/Skillshare. You get 2 months free. So not only do you get to check out my course, but you get to check out several other amazing courses on Skillshare. It's a great time to build your skill set if you're at home during this time and not working. You can learn so many different things from what I'm teaching to calligraphy to how to use your SLR camera. So check it out, 2 months free. Can't hurt, right? That's NacheSnow.com/Skillshare. The links to everything we talk about will, of course, be in the show notes, along with the link to the class I just mentioned. So another easy link to remember is NacheSnow.com/102. And that is NacheSnow.com/102, and it has the show notes, the links, like all the things. All right, so let's just jump into it. Let's chat with Sarah. Here we go. Hello, Sarah. Welcome to the show.
Yay! I'm so excited.
Yes, I am really excited to have you on. People have already heard me talk about you in the intro. And, I'm just so glad, like, our paths crossed. And, I've already mentioned, like, you kind of even got, like, the class that I put about, like, organizing your life.
Yes, I did.
And
I took that class. And that's because I remember that one of the first things you said, was just start with 1. And that's what I did. I started with 1.
Right. But it's so weird, right? Because I'm like, I always tell people, because people are like, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I try to inspire people to like follow their passion. But I'm like, but sometimes it starts with just like organizing your life too, because I'm like, you can't even make time for all the things if everything is everywhere, right?
It's a mess. You can't even think. Like, I got to at least clean off my counter, but yeah.
But let's start with, let's talk about you before you started IamSarahMatthews.com. Like, just tell the audience just a little bit about your background before you got where you are today.
So it's a long story, but I've always been a creative type. My mother she calls herself a seamstress, but I think right now, like, the term now is sewist. But she'd always make things since we were kids. And so, like, all our outfits, my sister and I, we would wear the exact same thing because my mom would make it in the same fabric, or we would take that same fabric and we would make doll clothes with it. We did craft bazaars, so we made handmade dolls, clothing. We did blankets. So we were always making things as far as I can remember. And even like to me, you don't know that you're poor until you're grown up. But my mother was like, we're going to use what we have. We're going to use what we have here to make whatever you want to make. And so, but back then as a child, you didn't, I didn't really, I thought I was rich,
right.
you know,
like new outfits every week. No,
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is awesome. I look, it's one of a kind, nobody has this. And so, that's where it started. Going further, so when I graduated from high school, I was intent on being an attorney. That's what I wanted to do. I watched Perry Mason. I watched Matlock. I was like, I'm going to be
like this is my path.
Ever, right? Right. I'm going to be the greatest lawyer ever. That's what I was, striving for. I went and, but those classes were so boring. Like, with my, I'd come home with my report cards with D's and F's because they were so boring. Mm-hmm. So then I ended up getting transferred because my father was in the Air Force. We ended up getting transferred to Maryland. And so I ended up going to Anne Arundel Community College. There's nothing like community college, man. Went to Anne Arundel Community College. And when I took my first sociology class, it was like, bing, this is it, right? And so I changed my degree to sociology, transferred over to Bowie State University, my HBCU, and graduated from there. But during that time, I was working at Best Buy as the sales consultant, selling appliances, and I was still going to school at the same time. So basically, my cousin and I, because she went to the same school that I went to, we were hustling. Like literally, wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, go to school, then come home, change our clothes, go to work, and then come home at like midnight.
Oh wow!
And I don't know how we had time to study, but we figured it out. So once I got my degree from Bowie, I continued on working at Best Buy. So I became a supervisor. I became a marketing associate, just doing things. And then, even though I was married at the time and had a baby, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get an MBA.
Right? Like, why not? Like, let's just pile it on.
They have tuition reimbursement. I'm bored. I might as well just go ahead and get my MBA, which it was so easy. I don't know. I guess because I had worked at Best Buy for so long, it was just like I just transferred everything that I knew from working in business to the MBA. So it was like a piece of cake. And then after the MBA was over, I was bored again. So I'm like, let me take some art classes at Anne Arundel Community College. Just on a whim. I just took like intro to drawing or something like that, or like intro to color or color theory. And then I was like, then I went and looked because, I'm a career student. So I went and looked, what would it take to get a degree? Right. Like, art. Let me see how. And so I looked and I'm like, I've already got like majority of the credits. All I got to do is take the art classes. And so that's what I did.
Oh, yeah.
And so by that time I was an HR manager. And I remember my boss at the time, because it's amazing when you have a great boss. They know you before you even like understand what's going on with yourself, right? And so she would sit down with me during my one-on-one and she would say, so if you had anything in the world, what would you want? Right? And so the first time she asked me that question, I couldn't answer it because I was just like, I don't know. So the next time I was prepared. I said, you know what? I would love to do something more creative in my job. Like I feel like I'm, again, getting bored.
Like something was missing. Yeah.
Right. And I'm not like getting everything that I want out of the job. You want to feel like you're making an impact. And so I came back to her and said, you know what? I have this dream of, getting my master's in art. And she's like, we'll make it work. So she was like, hey, you work 4 days and then on that 5th day, you can take classes on that day. So basically I would work 10 hours each of those 4 days. And then on that 5th day, I would allocate my classes for that. And so she made it work. So it was like a full year where I had that autonomy to do this. And the thing is, it's like, I wasn't going to do it. I tell this story all the time. I felt like all the classes that I took at Anne Arundel, I had like nothing to show for, the time that I was there. And so I just didn't apply. I just did. And so one of my colleagues, he received his, I guess it's a SHRM certificate saying that you are a part of the Society of Human Resources, whatever. And Best Buy paid for it. And they were all congratulating him for getting this thing. So I saw it on the email. You see like, congratulations, so-and-so for getting this. And I'm like, I look at it. I go to the website. I go and see, like, how do I take these SHRM classes? Right. What does it take to get there? And then I started reading what do you have to learn? And then my stomach started hurting. I'm like,
do I want to do this?
No. I was like, I got my MBA. Why do I need that?
Right. You're like,
I don't need that. I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. And so I would go to the Corcoran side and I look at all of like because at the time I wanted to do interior design. Yes, I'm going to be an interior designer, HGTV, watch me. I'm going to be right there. Right? But, so yeah, I'm sitting there and then all of a sudden they had this art in a book program posted. All of that, because it hadn't existed before, and it said art in the book, and I'm looking at it. It's like, ooh, I can learn letterpress. I can learn how to, fold paper, make my own paper. This sounds amazing. But I still didn't apply. So this little voice every morning would be, apply to the Corcoran. Right. Little voice. Apply to the Corcoran. And I'm like, I got stuff to do. I've got a conference call here. I'm going all the way to DC. I'm driving all the way to Ohio, for these, doing these store visits. And the little voice was like, you apply to the Corcoran. I'm like, whatever, right?
Right. You're trying to go against it, right? Because you're just like, should I do this?
No,
do I need this?
Right. I don't have it. I just, no. So it was my 10-year anniversary with my husband, and I planned it to the T. Like literally, everything was handmade by me. And so after the whole celebration was over, because you sit back, it's time you sit back and say, you know what, I wish I could have did so and so at this, at my renewal of my when we did our vows. But I sat back and said, we did everything I said I was going to do. Yes. It was
no regrets.
Right. Like pat myself on the back. Like I am amazing. Right. But that next day I woke up with this like terrible headache. Right. Terrible headache. Because my husband and I were just going to go to King's Dominion for our I don't know. It's not a real honeymoon, but it's just like we're going to hang out.
Celebration. Yeah.
Right. My kids are with my mom and my dad. And so we were just like, we're just going to go and have a good time for a week. And so I'm packing my stuff and my head is hurting so bad. But that little voice is now, because there's nothing, there's no work, there's no kids. That little voice is screaming at me. I'll fly to the Corcoran. Now. I was like, okay, Lord. Okay, God. I know you. Yeah. So on the way in the car, I pull up my iPad and I apply to Corcoran.
Oh, wow.
And before we get there, my headache is gone. I said,
wow. Isn't that interesting how your body kind of, it's like lets you know, like, hey, you need to do something. Like, I'm going to act up until you get it right.
And so I had made invitations for weddings for 10 years by that time. Because yeah, that's a whole long story too. So I got married. My invitations were ugly. I hated them. In fact, there was like a misprint in them and I had to have them send them back to me. And so, but I didn't have enough time to send to order new ones. So I figured I could have done this myself. I don't know why I, paid some, website online. I don't know. Back then, I don't remember how I found them because, Google wasn't as extravagant. I started making invitations by making my sister's invitations and my cousin's invitations when they got married, and then their friends. And then by the time that I applied to the Corcoran, I had 10 years worth of invitations that I had handmade, hand printed. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know
but
how
then
I
you had a portfolio.
Oh.
You had something. It was like the timing was right. Yeah.
Well, I just picked up those things in a box and just showed up to my interview. And she went through all of them and she was like, she didn't say much, but I got the email, 2 weeks later talking about you're enrolled in the Corcoran. And I was like, what?
Like, well, this is it.
Well, I don't understand how this happened, but okay, we're just going to go with it. And I took my first class. It was Letterpress 1 and loved it. Loved. And then I took, the next class was Computer Meets Press. So basically you would print using your computer and then you would layer over it with letterpress. Love that class. Then we hit the historical part where I started to get like, I don't get it. Like the art theory or the art history.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I hated writing those papers, man. Especially because they were so long. Like, it was like 10 or 12 pages of stuff. It's like, I don't know. I looked at the piece and I don't see what you're seeing.
Right.
I don't see 10 pages worth of stuff to elaborate on, but I'll do my best.
Right.
I struggled in those classes, but the semester where I had intro to bookbinding and advanced printmaking, that was like a whole new world, like a whole new world. Like literally, it was like sun shining. Bing! I mean, I was in the studio constantly printing, making books, printing, making books. It was like this is where I'm supposed to be.
No, I get that feeling. It was like the first time I was introduced to laser cutting. And my husband was like, where are you? And I'm like, I'm at the laser place. I would like get off of work and then be there for like 3 hours, right? Like, because you're just so excited to be there and to create stuff.
Yeah. I remember going to the critique, right? Because usually I hated critiques too, because after every semester, they would critique all the things that you had made in that semester. Jesus have mercy. So that semester, I had so much stuff. They were like, Sarah, you still have more stuff in the trunk? Yep, I sure did. I've been printing this whole semester and making books. And they're like, we could definitely tell you're excited.
But it's so weird because like you go to school, right? And you kind of find like what that passion is. And you're working at Best Buy and they don't need any bookbinding, right? So it's
absolutely not.
Right. So you're kind of like going to work, but then you're out of school, but you're like, I still want to do the thing. So like, how did that work out for you? Like, how did that evolve for you?
It was major stress because like there were things at school that I couldn't attend because I had to work. Yeah. Or there were things at work that I couldn't attend stuff at school. So especially as my job was, I was a senior market HR manager covering 32 stores at the time and 32 big box stores at the time. And there was no time, especially when we had like holiday hiring time, there wasn't really time. Because if you think about it, if you look at like a semester, when finals are occurring is when the ramp up for sales and Christmas is starting.
The timing is exact. I'm talking about stress.
Right. It was major stress. And I navigated through it. And, Yeah. And the thing is, I had to do this thing with both sides. Hey, I can't go to that because I'm working, or I'm at work. I'm sorry. I have to turn in my final.
Right.
But what I'll work through the weekend to get whatever you need to get done. And yes, it wasn't perfect. Yes, there were some times where my work at school wasn't as good as it could be, or my work at work wasn't as good as it could be, because, you're juggling. And plus, in the midst of this, I have at the time I had 3 kids and a husband.
Right. Yeah.
So it's not like I did those 2 things. I know I did a lot of other things too. My poor family, God bless him. God bless my husband. He was so supportive through that whole ordeal. Like, he's my biggest cheerleader. He's like, every time, I'm feeling down or a class is canceled, he's always like pushing me. Like, just go to the next one. Do the next one. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. And it ended up turning out fine. It took a long time, but it ended up turning out fine. So, but there's one thing that I want to make sure that I conveyed in this interview. So, you know how you have employees who are engaged in the work, so they're doing everything they're supposed to do. They show up on time. And then you have people who are disengaged, who do the opposite. But there's people who are actively disengaged, and those are people who quit in their head, but continue on doing the work.
Right.
and it shows up. So at one point, and I didn't realize it, I look at it from my perspective now, I was actively disengaged. Like, the only thing that was fueling my fire and keeping me going is those classes.
Right.
But there was at work that engaged me, that made me feel good about what I was doing. And I think I should have left a long time ago. And I'm being completely honest. I should have left a long time ago. But I stayed because of the salary.
Yeah.
I did. I stayed because of the salary. Yeah.
And did they pay? I'm sorry. Did they pay for the school, or did you pay for some of it too? Because sometimes that plays into it too, right? Like, it's like you might be disengaged, but the money that you're bringing in is helping pay for school, or pay for supplies, or pay for all these things. So you're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place, because you're like, well, even though this isn't filling my bucket, I actually need this money to pay for the thing that I love.
Exactly. So you're stuck in a rock and a hard place, But that last semester, I don't know how I got it like that, but my last semester I had 1 class left, and it was just thesis. That was all that was left. So I ended up doing my thesis with a big old belly, trying to pull screen prints, because they wouldn't let me go in the letterpress room because it had all the lead and stuff in there. So I could only do my project with screen printing and laser cutting. So I literally was like pulling stuff, making prints with my big old belly.
So wait a minute. You had 3 kids and then a 4th on the way, and going to school and working full time. Yeah. Okay, I just want to make sure the audience kind of caught all of that. Okay, go for it. Okay.
That is all.
Little insane, but I love it.
And it's a blur. It's all a blur. But I did it, yo. So I remember walking across the stage, like literally hips hurting, but I did it. And I was so happy. And I wish that my graduation lasted longer. I don't know why I feel like that, but I just wish I could have that moment back, because it was so amazing. And then I went back to work, and it was like...
Now let me ask you a question, because I think you brought up a great point about, different types of employees, but it sounded like you had a pretty decent boss. And is it really anything they could have done to make you more engaged? Because at that point, right, the work is the work. So do you think there was something, because for people out there who have, employees that are disengaged, it's like, I know they're thinking as they're listening to this, like, oh, if we have someone like this, we could support them, but is there really any way to make them engaged again with working for our company when they're not doing the work that they love? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So the missing piece here is my boss got promoted and went off to go do greater things.
Oh. Oh. That
Then I got
changes
a
the
new
narrative.
boss who was fantastic. I loved him. I still talk to him to this day. And then my old boss calls me on a whim and she's like, hey, there's that senior market, blah, 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 open. How come you haven't applied for it?
Right.
Because I was enjoying the job that I was in. I was comfortable.
Right.
This is nice. It's like nice and warm and toasty. This is good. This is okay. I know exactly what I'm going to do every morning. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to use any brain cells. It's all good. And then she's like, you should get promoted. You've been doing this for like 9 years, like,
You're
or
like,
8 years, or whatever.
Right.
You should just go ahead and get promoted or whatever. So I took that job, and it was just like going from comfortable, nice, to a frying pan because I knew nothing about this other business. I was like how you feel like you're behind already before you even start, so you never catch up. So you're just treading water. So I treaded water for 3 years, just treading water.
Now, did that start before or after you graduated?
That was before I graduated.
Okay,
yeah.
so you were in this new position while in school. So,
Yes.
Okay, so the pressure was on even more. Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when you graduate, right? Because I guess like even, getting back to that question about like, could they have done anything to, make you re-engage?
No.
Not really, right? So what did you do after you graduated? Because you're still in this stressful position, right? You no longer are in school doing the stuff that you love.
Right.
Like, how is life after that? It's like it seems like it's like a crash. Like the next week you're like, wait a minute, I don't have to go to class.
Right. Like, what am I going to do? But I ended up having the baby. So I had the baby in July.
That's true.
So then I was, off. I had nothing, like nothing. I had no work, no school. All I had was this baby. It was a tough time, man. I'm telling you. You talking about postpartum depression? Yes, I had it. Me there, if you see a picture of post, that's me. I was there, because I haven't done anything. No one has called me because, you're HR manager. People call you like constantly, all the time. And then you go to like nothing, no connection with anyone. So I even like after, I think, what was it, 3 months, the 3 months max of your maternity leave, I came back to work because I was going to prove them wrong. I came back to work for 3 weeks. And I remember my mother, because my mother was watching BB at the time, my youngest. And my mother said, you look like you are dreading the day. Like your facial expression says that you are not interested. Why are you going to work? Why? My mother asked me, why are you doing this to yourself? Like, and I would just pack my bag, pack my laptop, drag my butt out to the car and drive. Because, I live in the DMV era. You know how long it takes to drive everywhere?
I know.
2 hours top.
It's insane. Don't even get me started.
Drive myself out there and to a job that I didn't love anymore. You know how you have a boyfriend and you love him and he's amazing and you like, you know what? I don't love you anymore.
Right? Yeah, you just no, I get it.
I have my space.
This was good while it lasted, but it's gone. It's gone.
The gleam is, the money is not all that, And so I literally I worked for 3 weeks, and I, on a Sunday, that little voice said, quit, 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 quit. So on a Sunday evening, I sent my resignation letter to, in the email. And then that next morning they called me. Oh, I saw your resignation letter. I was like, yep, that's it. Goodbye.
Oh my goodness.
I mailed my laptop in. Yeah, I mailed my laptop in. It was the greatest feeling in the world to not have that. I mailed my corporate phone in, and it was just like silence. Wow. Radio silence. Because no one has my personal phone number, really. And so it was like a radio silence. And that's when it really set in, because it's like, I really have nothing now. Now I'm just a stay-at-home mom. And that's nothing wrong with that, because that's what I've been doing for 3 years. Technically, I was stay-at-home mom. And you know what? I love it now. But that first 6 months, man.
It was like, so at least, because for some people, they're just like, oh my goodness, no more, there's no more cash coming in and no more health insurance either, right? So for you, was it, since you were married, you could go under your husband's insurance, right? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there was like a little bit of a safety net
about that, because I had everything myself, like everything.
I know.
I had my own bank account. I had my own money. I had my own insurance. I did everything myself. I'm a mature woman. I can do it. I can do it without him. Right. I laugh about it now. It's just like, why was I like that? But anyway.
But after that, that's like a huge decision, because now it's like, right, you're leaning on your significant other, right? Like when you spend money now, there's more of a conversation instead of just like, oh, this is my money in my account. I just spend it whatever I want to spend it. Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got myself a, Coach bag and another one the next day because I could.
Right.
But now it's like I can't just buy that Coach bag, just to be buying it. Why do I need it anyway? There's nobody to see it. Right.
Like, this is not a priority. Like, so yeah, that's like that's a biggie to walk away, Yeah.
But one of my good friends, Jessica. Hey, Jessica. She reached out to me. She's like, you should join a mommy's group. And I was like, okay. All right, fine. So I found this mommy's group. It was supposed to have like a mommy and me yoga class, so I could bring my baby with me. So I dragged myself out of the house, and and especially it's like in the morning, 8:00 in the morning, like really, like I gotta feed, because I gotta breastfeed the baby, and pack everything. Moms with their babies in a stroller, and they're working out, and I was like, oh, that must be them. So I go over there, and I'm wearing sandals, by the way, because I'm thinking we're gonna do yoga. So I got my yoga mat. We're gonna do yoga. It's gonna be good. And so the instructor's like, all right, ladies, we're going to run down the hill. And I was like, okay. So I just run down the hill with my sandals, run down the hill. And so we get down to the end of the hill, and she comes up to me. She says, yeah, so I think you don't have the right type of shoes for this workout. And I was like, this is not yoga? She's like, no, this is fit for mom. This is stroller strides. You ever heard of stroller strides? It's amazing. And she just talks to me about it, and it continues on the workout. So I finished the workout. It's like an hour workout, right? And it's intense. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And so I never left. In fact, I'm an instructor now. I've been an instructor for almost 2 years. I teach stroller strides and body. Yeah. So I do that in the morning when I have my baby here. Well, she's not a baby anymore. She's 3. But I teach that. And that was the thing that got me, I guess, out of my rut. Mm-hmm. And then I remember like sitting there saying, you know what, I could teach a class. If I can teach mommies with their babies, I can teach a class, So I started teaching anywhere, like literally community centers. Like I would, how people say I can't find anything. I can't find a job. Well, sometimes if you like look deeper, you can find things. So like look at like say Anne Arundel Community College or Howard Community College is like not a syllabus, but what is it? Their catalog.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then like in there, it'll say, if you want to teach like life skills classes, reach out to this email.
Oh,
so
yeah.
that's what I did.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to teach bookbinding and printmaking.
Right.
And that's how I started. Literally that's how I started. And they called me. I brought over my portfolio. And they were like, yeah, we have to have you. And so I would teach classes every so often. But there's always that dreaded thing because you're not a credit teacher. That usually your classes get canceled because you don't have enough enrollment. You need at least 3 to 4 students enrolled in order for you to have a class run. And then places, they didn't have the facilities like Pyramid or Frederick Book Art Center, like a book press and a letterpress machine. They don't have any of that. So I literally had to lug everything that I had to these classes. And sometimes it would be in a chemistry room.
Right.
Or a kitchen. But I think it was a good thing because when I'm presented in a place where it has everything, I'm not like constrained because I know I can use any of this stuff because I've done it in a kitchen or, in a chemistry lab. So, because I remember I think it was recently, somebody sent me an email from Pyramid. They were like, hey, we're going to go ahead and cut your paper for you. And I was like, what?
You're like, you do that? I know,
weird.
because you were so used to doing. So it's interesting. So that year you quit your job. So within that year after, you start teaching these fitness classes and you start teaching at the community college. Wow. Right. Okay. So you figured out a way.
And anywhere that I can, like you. Even if it's like church, anywhere.
Wow.
So when people say, where do you teach? Everywhere.
I love that. So you're kind of like, but then at that point, right, you're building up a following, you're building up a skill, you're building up a resume that reflects the work that you want to do, right? Because even though you had basically 20 years at Best Buy in marketing, right? And sales, it's, that's not what you needed on your resume to get the jobs that you really wanted to do, which was in the bookbinding, letterpress, all that good stuff. So that's amazing. And I feel like even though the fitness one wasn't, of course, like dealing with bookbinding, at least it brought in some extra income, right? And allowed you to meet people. And it just at least gave you like somewhere to go in the beginning, because it is weird, I would assume, to go to work every day to like not going to work every day. So
yes.
Yeah. So when did you decide to start your website and then really start marketing yourself as like a brand?
So I don't know if I consider myself as a brand. I just consider myself as me. That's why I named it I Am Sarah Matthews. Like, these are the things that I loved to do, and here they are. Basically.
But you know what? You're a personal brand.
Oh, I know this. I have an MBA. However, the imposter
for some reason, sometimes we as women, we don't want to claim it, but you are your personal brand. When I look at your website, I was like, oh, this is Sarah Matthews. She's a printmaker, a book artist, a fiber artist. This is who she is. This is her personal brand.
Well, I used to omit things. Like I would, because people were like, what's a bookbinder? And I got tired of explaining what it was. I literally sew the book with my hands. It's not really that hard. Like, I literally sew the book with my hands. Okay. Yay.
Right.
Like, what is that? So then that's why I have the website. That's why I pull up maryruth.com and be like, look, see, this is the book I made. Okay. Here's another book I made. Oh, that's an artist book. Yes. Yes, it is. So it's really just like a portfolio. Here it is. Because I even I've stopped literally printing CVs. I'm like, my CV's on my website. You can go right to it and you see everything that I've done because I update it constantly. That's the one thing about being an HR professional. It's ingrained in me to update my stuff constantly because you have to look marketable, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is what you were just here.
And your stuff, for the listeners out there, definitely go to I Am Sarah Matthews. Of course, it'll be in the show notes too. But she creates these gorgeous prints. And then even the book art too is just beautiful. And I'm definitely going to take a course, one of your courses, because I am obsessed with so journals in general, because, I'm a journal junkie. You've been following me for a while. It's a problem. I love bullet journaling. Yes. And I'm like, I need to make my own journal. So I actually went to Atlantic last year just to tour the space, and they had some exhibit at the top, which was gorgeous too. And I was like, I need to take some classes here. And now that I know you're going to be teaching, I'm like, I know I got to take a bookbinding class. But yeah,
you definitely have to come.
Yes, but people definitely take a look. But well, let's talk about that, because of course you said you reached out and you started doing, some courses here and there at different places around the city. How did you get hooked up with Pyramid? Because Pyramid is I would think, their facilities is amazing. They're just amazing.
Yes, they are. So, so when I was getting my MA at the Corcoran, we took a field trip to Pyramid Atlantic. And at the time, I believe they were in Rockville. And they just, I think it's been 2 or 3 years since they've been in Hyattsville now. But I remember walking through the doors and say, you know what, I would love to work here. So yes, I'm one of those maniacal people who don't look like they're stalking people, but they are kind of stalking people. So I would put they had a book arts fair a few years back, and they were looking for people to just teach little workshops. And I was like, oh, and so I knew me because I went to the Corcoran. So they were like, oh yeah, come over and teach the workshop. So I did. And I got rave reviews because I was making people laugh and have a good time. And so they were like, well, why don't you come and teach another class? So I taught flag books. And then Gretchen sent me an email and said, hey, why don't you come over and discuss being an associate here? And I was like, yes.
It was everything is falling into place.
All the stalking helped. I did it. The same thing with the Friday Book Art Center. My fellow student, we went to class together, took classes together. She's now the creative director of Frederick Book Art Center. Her name is Sarah Friedman. And so she called me up and was like, hey, I'm starting up this book arts center. Come join me. Yes.
Wow. Yes. Everything was falling in that is beautiful.
Yes. So it's all worked out. But
your life has changed in 3 years.
I don't know if I'm going to make it. I don't know. I'm not making anything. Oh my God, woe is me. And now today it's well, I'm so busy, putting classes together and making things.
That is amazing.
God is awesome.
So, and I think it's cool too, because I think, you're lucky also that you had a supportive husband, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And
family.
And family.
They had to watch my kids. So yeah.
That's good. It's right. It's the circle, right? And, for you, you built this, the life you wanted, right? You wanted to do something creative, and now you're actually making money doing what you love. Question for you, do you think it was worth the sacrifice? Because, I have a lot of my listeners are, mid-careerists making, maybe over $100,000 a year in these great jobs, and they might be in the situation you are in where they're like, well, I want to be a painter, or I know I really should be making X, right? But in order for them to do that, they might have to take a serious salary cut where maybe they're only bringing in 20 to 30,000 a year. And that's a lifestyle change. How was that? How was that journey?
It was treacherous, but we made it through. Like we had to make some changes in how we were spending our money. We even, we have solar panels now. My husband was maniacal on like how we can penny pinch every single buck that we had. So we have solar panels. So you should have saw him the other day doing our taxes, like going through, okay, what can I deduct here and there? Because he wants to make sure that, we're maximizing the money we have. Back then, when I was making the six figures, because I was making the six figures, I was always constantly shopping, limited this and express that. And, I had to wear everything brand new. And now I go to the thrift store, and there's nothing wrong with that. 99.9% of my wardrobe is from the thrift store. And every time I go out now, people are like, where'd you get that from? The thrift store. Like, they've never seen it before. Yes, because I am, and I'm not going to tell anybody where I shop. You will never know. I'm not even going to announce on this show.
Hey, we all have our secrets. We need to keep a secret.
You're not going to my store, okay? But yeah, I'll show up in an outfit at church, and someone will be like, my God, it's amazing. And I'm like, the thrift store, $5. But my husband hates the thrift store, so.
Yeah. But I think it is about sacrifice. I mean, I always tell people, like, even for me, I make a decent chunk of change, but I try to live as simply as possible. Now, do I have like an iWatch and a new iPhone? Yes. Okay. Absolutely. But there's other things that I'll sacrifice. Like for me, clothes are, it's like whatever. I'd rather spend my money on crafts, artist supplies and things like that. And for that, I will then simplify my life in other areas. And, I always tell people too, especially if they know that maybe one day they will want to make the jump like you do, to start now and start saving. Like I always pay myself first.
Start saving. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it helps a little bit. Like not everybody's able to do that initially, but I'm like, if you can, even if you have to live a little poor, start saving, and at least, the jump, there's like a little bit of a net, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically the first year after leaving, I lived out the residuals of my salary, basically like all the stuff, like some places have like these perks as being an employee. So like the 401k and the stocks, that was it, the stocks. I lived off the stocks for a year, in order that was that cushion. So that way we could survive, And plus the other thing the biggest savings was childcare.
Yeah,
so because we didn't have the childcare anymore.
Yeah.
That was a boost because I was home. So so that was the offset, because we didn't have to pay that out. I remember one year I paid $32,000 in childcare expenses.
Oof.
Yeah.
We in the wrong business.
I know. But will it give me joy? No. No. But I'll be rich.
You'll be rich. I always tell people, if you in the wedding business, the funeral business, or the baby business, you making money. But you gotta want to be in that business.
But will you be happy? I don't know. I don't know.
But, what I wanted to ask you as we, kind of wrap up here is how are you generating your revenue now? So it sounds like, I don't know, like you've diversified your income. So can you kind of walk us through like, how are you getting paid today?
So from every class that I teach, I get paid.
Right.
I do make prints. So the largest size prints I have is 2 feet by 4 feet. And so like I'm trying to sell those. And my goal, like thinking about forward, so when you see on my site, it says I'm a fiber artist. What I want to do is take existing clothing and print on them. But I don't know if that's where I want to go because I don't want to take the joy of me making things. You know what I mean? Like I have an Etsy store. It's empty because I don't want to be a factory. I want to be free to create what I want to create. So right now I'm just focusing on the classes to bring in income to pay for the supplies I need to make the artwork that I want to do. So what ends up being in a museum or in a show, that's where I want to go there. So yeah, if I have a few jackets available, yeah, you can buy those, but I don't want to make 30,000 jackets. I just want to make one of a kind. This is the one. This is the only one. Enjoy.
Right.
Here it is.
No, I totally get that.
That was a good thing. Yeah, there's one thing with a book artist. Usually they want you to make like 50 to 100 of that same book. I'm like, I'll do 3 to 5, and that will be it.
Right.
I'm not a machine. I'm like because it takes it. It was like it's not special anymore.
Right.
When you make 1,000. So I want to stay low numbers. And right now we can afford for me not to have a huge salary. But my husband's looking forward to the day when I'm the breadwinner and he can just be the stay-at-home husband.
But let me tell you, you listen to the podcast, right? Like it's possible, because once you find that thing that hits, I feel like a lot of artists are able to really live comfortably off of their income. It's just finding out what that is. Is it, teaching classes? Is it, selling your art? Is it a combination? But it's like you're going to get there. and just
I think so too.
Yeah. And then, I wanted to talk to you because, I knew initially you were a little hesitant to get on YouTube.
Yes, I was.
But now you YouTube queen.
I always had the dream to do it. I just didn't know how I was going to do it. I'm not one of those fashionistas. I'm not going to do a makeup tutorial. I just want to like make stuff.
But there's followers out there. Yeah, but there's followers out there. That's all they want. They just want all the craft stuff. Those are your tribe. Those are your people.
All right. Tell those people to come find me. I only have 28 subscribers. Please tell them.
Okay, people, you hear that?
Sarah
I'm putting in Sarah Mimi. Go to YouTube now. Subscribe to her channel. Give her support.
Thank you.
And then
so I'm not sure where I'm specifically for the actual show, but I'm saying it's me. This is me. This is what I like to do. This is me. So.
Hey. And then before I just get to the wrap-up questions, I think this episode will really help inspire people to follow their dreams, right? Because sometimes when I'm talking to people, because I don't have kids, they're like, Nache, whatever, girl. You don't understand, it's time, money. I just can't do it. I really have this passion to do XYZ, but I can't do it because, I might have 2 kids or 4 kids. And I'm like, hey, I don't have kids, but I know a ton of people with kids that have found a way to make it work. And so for those out there that be like throwing tomatoes at me, because they're like, Nache, you don't get it. Can you, give them advice? If they might have 3 or 4 kids, a demanding job, what would your advice be to them if they have like this passion to do something else, but they just don't feel they should or that they have the time?
Wow, that's a loaded question. However, I would say leave my Nache alone. Okay.
Thank you.
That's one. Number 2, I have 4 daughters, 17, 11, 9, and 3. And I look at them and I want them to do what they love to do. I want them to pursue their passions. So I might as well do it. So they have a person to look up to. Yeah. Because when they look at me, because my oldest said to me, she said, "Mommy, you're different. You're different now." She said, "When you were at that other job, you yelled at us, you fussed at us. But now you're different. You're happier." And to me, that was worth everything that I went through to get to where I am today. So yes, it might be hard. Yes, you might have to sacrifice those, Jordans or whatever it is. Go for what you want to do because life is short. I remember putting together my grandmother's obituary for her funeral and looking at all the things that she accomplished. She only had an eighth grade education, and yet she did so many things. She had a radio station. I mean, literally had a show every week with something new, singing, whether it's singing, preaching, whatever. She did it every week. Then she had like a young people's thing that she did. But she had a plethora of things to put into her obituary that I didn't even know existed. Right? Should be on mine. That's where I am.
Yeah, no.
I wanted to say Sarah was artist.
Yes.
Right.
Perfect. Okay, so just a few quick wrap-up questions. How do you stay organized? Any tools, software, or techniques? So,
if you'd asked me 10 years ago when I worked at Best Buy, I would say everything Android, because Android is the best and Samsung is awesome. Yeah. Today, I own everything Apple. Everything talks to each other seamlessly. I don't have to think about it. If I put notes on my laptop, it'll be on my phone. It'll be on my iPad. I don't have to figure it out.
Yes.
It's so amazing. I love my calendar. However, I still need to make some tweaks because what happens is I'll put it on my calendar, and if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. So if something is supposed to happen and I forgot to put it on my calendar,
yes,
it gets dropped. So I got to figure that out. And then also what I did recently, because I kind of was frustrating my family, so I made a whiteboard calendar. So everything that was on my computer calendar, I put it on the board so they can see what I'm doing.
Oh, yeah.
So my daughter asked me today, she's like, "Mommy, all right, what's altered book?" "Mommy's teaching an altered book at Federal Book Art Center today." "Oh, okay."
We all on the same page.
What doing?
Right.
So there's no confusion, and you go, "Why is Mommy gone?" And, because Mommy is going to work.
Yes.
So, and that's helpful. Yeah. You got to keep everyone organized, and then they feel the need to put stuff on the calendar. Like my daughter was like, "I have a recital. I'm going to play the violin on this day. I'm going to be in a play on this day." So everyone puts their stuff on the calendar, and I'm teaching. That's kind of like teaching them how to keep themselves organized. Google Drive is my favorite. So if I have any artworks that I need to send people, I can just upload them all into one space and then send it to everyone. So I don't have to think about it. And as far as keeping me motivated and inspired, I watch and listen to a lot of YouTube videos and podcasts. In fact, I think I probably have moved away from scripted television and focused on watching other artists make things. I just love doing that. It inspires me. It pushes me. Some people say, I don't like following people on Instagram because when I see their feed, it defeats me. No, it fuels me. It makes me like,
Same.
I got to get out there and do more
Same.
things.
I'm same.
So my favorite show is Craft in America. It's on PBS. They have them it's on YouTube too, but they only make like 2 to 3 a year, which makes me so angry, but it's so good. So good. And then there's C Lemon. She's been doing bookbinding classes on her YouTube page for years, but I just love watching her make things. And then Karen Britchick is amazing. She does lots of thrifting, but she's basically a fashion blogger. And I just love watching her like video people on the street. So she'll basically follow people in New York, looking at what they're wearing and asking where they got it. And I just love watching that.
Ooh,
this is amazing. So, but yeah, just staying up on like who's current. I'm not too worried about like how many, subscribers they have. It's just about whether the content is really resonating with me. Because sometimes there'll be a person on there who has poor like video quality, poor audio quality, but they have something to say. You just listen. I'm like, oh my gosh, duh. Ding, ding, ding.
It's what you need.
Something.
Content is king.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I always say you have to learn something new every day. Otherwise, you waste your time. You got to learn something new every day. It keeps you, keeps you good.
Keeps you fresh.
And
So question for you. So this is always a funny one for people who are already like creative in like their business, but do you have a hobby?
Yeah. So it's sewing. So my mom, like I said, was a sewist or a seamstress. And so I do have patterns. I can make a dress from a pattern, but I like setting them up and making something different. So that's what I've been doing. So like I just got a pair of high-waisted Levi's jeans that didn't quite fit in the waist area. So I added a tab so it can fit, and they look amazing. I wore them yesterday, actually. But I like doing that. It's like, I don't know. So, I could make a pattern. I mean, use a pattern and make something, but I just like changing something up or adding a dart or here or there to make it interesting. So
I love it.
Hobby.
And then, just tell the listeners all the different places they can find you. How can they sign up for your courses? Like, let them know how to get to you.
Well, my website is iamsarahmatthews.com. So IAMSARAHMATT. So it's 2 T's, HEWS.com. You can see my bookbinding work, my artist books at Mary Ruth, so MARYRUTHS.com. I'm on Instagram at IamSarahMatthews. And that's for all my printmaking artist book work. And then for my thrifting is Sarah Be Me. My YouTube is Sarah Be Me. And if you want to take a class with me, go to frederickbookarts.org or pyramid-atlantic-art-center.org.
Perfect. Well, Sarah, this has been a pleasure. And I'm sure people are going to listen to this and they're going to say, no more excuses. No more. No mas.
Yeah. Just do it.
Yes.
Just do it.
Oh, perfect. Yay. Oh, my goodness. What did I tell you guys? What an amazing guest. So many nuggets there. So many nuggets. I think what I want you guys to take away from this is just go with your gut. Do what's right for you. Everything will work itself out. And there might be some bumps in the road, but you'll figure out how to get through it. And I think that is the perfect message for this time in our lives as we're dealing with COVID-19. Like, you will make it through this. You will find a way. Anyway, Thank you guys for, giving me the last hour. And please rate the podcast 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. It really means a lot for the show. It helps people find us. And don't forget to check out Skillshare at nachesnow.com/Skillshare. And for all the links that Sarah mentioned, you could go to nachesnow.com/102. All right, you guys have a beautiful week, and I will check you out next time. Take care. Bye.